My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Paranormal Activity 4. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But this movie got terrible reviews. It has a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I do hear people defend it. This movie does have its fans, but I am not one of them. I find this to be a very frustrating movie, and it's a huge step down in quality for the franchise. So, let's begin talking about the cast, and Catherine Newton is the best part of this movie. She is what keeps it entertaining. She has so much personality and she's so charming and she elevates this movie in every sense. Then we've got her boyfriend, played by Matt Shively, and I think he is very entertaining as well. He brought plenty of energy to this movie, but I do hate the fact that he's almost entirely absent from the second half. Then we've got Aidan Lovecamp, Brady Allen, Stephen Dunham, Alexandra Lee, and Katie Featherston, who all do a pretty good job. So the cast is not the issue, and I do like how this movie focuses on a teenage girl and her boyfriend. It's a fresh perspective that this franchise needed. And there's a reveal where it turns out that her brother Wyatt is actually Hunter and not the strange kid from next door. And at first I was like, holy shit, I did not expect that. That is such a clever twist. But when you sit down and think about it, it doesn't really add much. Like, you look at the first three movies, and Katie, possessed by Toby, kidnaps Hunter, and we don't know where they are. And it turns out she just put him up for adoption, and then he just lived with this family until they wanted him back. Like, that's not really a satisfying continuation of the first three movies. And then at the end of this movie, Katie, possessed by Toby, takes Hunter back. So we're right back where we started from. All of that, and there's no progress in this franchise. And it just doesn't really work for me. Like, I do like the last shot where we see just how big this witch's coven is, but I don't really think it added anything. And then we get to the big issue of this movie, which is it's just not scary. Like, this movie isn't really tense, it's not atmospheric, and it didn't give me chills like the other movies. There might be a couple decent moments. That garage scene is the best part. It's just an intense moment, but it's still a step down from the other movies. Like, the first movie is terrifying. The second movie has the kitchen scene and Christy getting dragged down the stairs. The third movie has the Bloody Mary scene and the entire climax. And, like, this movie has the garage scene, but it's just not the same. You know, so much of this movie is Wallaby and Wyatt running around this house. And first of all, the third movie already did that. And secondly, it's just not scary. These kids running around at night, it added nothing to the movie for me. And then there's moments where Katie just shows up and she snaps necks. Not scary. You know, the build up to those moments isn't effective, and I just don't think this movie did anything new. Like, the first movie is nice and simple. The second movie has more cameras and more characters. The third movie has different kinds of cameras and they find new tricks. But this movie doesn't do enough to make it feel fresh and new. They use computers and webcams and Kinect, and you could have done stuff with them, but this movie really doesn't, and by the time you get to the end, it just feels like the formula for this franchise has grown stale. And look, I love how in the first three movies, how every shot is framed. There's purpose behind it. And the way the rooms are framed in this movie, it's not the same. And also, there's no real sense of escalation. It just kind of feels random. But then we get to another huge issue here. It's the fact that she sets up the cameras all over this house and she never reviews them. Okay, that's a lie. She does it once, but that's not enough. Like, there was some messed up stuff happening, and I kept waiting for her to find out about it, and that moment just never came. So it feels like the cameras are just a gimmick now and not an intentional plot decision. So that pissed me off, and we get this story where the parents are on the verge of getting divorced. It doesn't really seem like they like each other anymore. So that's why they're not paying attention to all this other stuff. But we don't get any payoff when they do find out what's happening. They just get killed like that. And then there's just moments where I don't believe it. Like, there's a scene where a knife just disappears and then it almost hits the husband, like days later, and he just doesn't notice. Like, sorry, he does notice, but he doesn't really react. He's worried for like 5 seconds and then it's never brought up again. And what really ticks me off about that scene too is that the implication is that the knife is in the ceiling, but there's moments where people look at the ceiling beforehand. So how did they not see it? And if the knife did move, then why would they only drop it in the exact same spot? So it's just small decisions like this. Like, Catherine Newton, Matt Shively do their best to keep this movie as entertaining as possible. But I don't think it's effective. It's just not scary. It's more of the same, and it doesn't continue the story in any interesting way. So I hate to say it, but this is a bad movie. So I'm giving Paranormal Activity 4 a 4 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Paranormal Activity 4? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin out.